Did this computer? Okay, we are recording, it says. So
Yep.
got my fingers crossed. Anyway, nice to meet you. I'm so
Nice
sorry.
to meet you too.
Say your last name because I know I'm afraid I'm gonna mess it up.
Oh, it's Mihevc.
Hevik. Okay, because I
Yeah.
have a friend with that. I think pretty much a similar last name.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and I've never known how to say it. It's
Oh my God, it's such a rare last name. So if you have someone, they're probably distantly related to me because it's very rare.
yeah.
Mihevc.
What kind of a name is that?
It's Slovenian.
Oh,
Mhm.
so Slovenian, you said?
Yeah.
I've got a Czech last name, so there you go. So
Oh, there you go. So we were
kind
right
of
next door to
same
each
region.
other. Or maybe the same country when our families came over.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, who knows? But anyway, so yeah, I cannot remember her name, but anyway, someone reached out to me and told me about you, and yeah, I was interested just because, A, you are a runner, and secondly, you work with runners, and especially
Yeah.
people who are my understanding from what I've read about you is that people who can be frustrated or just wanting to get better. Does that sound about right?
Yeah, so I can be the last person that someone sees a lot of in a lot of cases. So I often get people who've seen four or five or six healthcare providers,
Oh,
and then they end up either in my clinic or I get a phone call or an email from somebody somewhere else in the country that's frustrated. So yes, that's what I do all the time, and I try to put out lots of resources so that they have somewhere to go and look at and help themselves. And if they can't, then obviously I'm here.
that's cool. And where are you based?
I'm in Atlanta, Georgia.
Atlanta. Okay. I
Yeah.
was trying to figure out where on the East
I
Coast.
know. I'm so sorry about last week because I was laughing. I'm like, I never asked. You never asked.
I
And we just
know.
both assumed. And I went, oh God, I know better than to do that.
Well, and then I saw a photo of you and you were like in a snow cap and you were like a track with like it looked like maybe mountains in the back. And I thought, well, maybe that's like West Texas or something.
Oh, I was in Albuquerque. I go to training
Oh,
camp
well,
in
there you go. I was kind
yeah,
of in the neighborhood. So
yeah.
anyway,
I
that's
go to
funny. So
That's where training camp is for my elite athletes. So I go in the usually in January and sometimes in the spring to meet with them during camp.
yeah, very cool. So I'm just going to go backward here for a second.
Hmm.
I'll kind of get into the whole
Yeah,
thing.
sure.
So are you from Atlanta or whereabouts are you from?
No, so I grew up in upstate New York and Vermont, so New
Oh,
England. But I ended up in Atlanta. I went to Emory Medical School
oh,
and in their PT program. So
okay.
physical therapy is part of the school. And then I did orthopedic residency in Chicago. And then I ended up back in Atlanta, where I really started my career here a long time
Yeah.
ago.
Oh, wow. How long ago?
I've been practicing for, I think over 15 years now. I have
Okay.
to think about that.
That's
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
I,
Around 15. It's for a while you're like 13 and then 3 years go by and you're like, oh yeah.
no, I believe me, I get that. Yeah, like well, because I've had two careers. I was a journalist for a long time, and then
Oh,
I
cool.
quit and decided to go to graduate school so I could teach, and which is what I did. But it's funny because it's like I have to think about which job, and
Yeah.
I still identify at times as a journalist, which is really stupid. But
But
um,
you're kind of doing that now.
yeah, exactly, exactly.
It all comes back because this is my second career as well. And so I was in marketing
Yeah,
before, and
okay.
I made a switch because I was training for a marathon, and I loved my coach, who was a physical therapist, and she really inspired me. And I just wasn't, getting out of life what I wanted to get out of it while I was in marketing, um, and yeah, I ended up going back to school to be a physical therapist.
Well, that's really cool. So you went to Emory. That's cool. That's
Mhm.
so funny because when I have a side gig in the summer, okay, and you can probably appreciate this. Okay, so a former colleague of mine started a business. It's called My Interview Clinic, and what it does is they prepare students who are just getting out of college for medical school. And
Oh,
so so she trains them about interviewing techniques and just like, the process, the paperwork. And then she hired me 3 summers ago because I didn't get summer school, to edit secondary essays. And so that's what I do in the summer is edit, dozens. And of course, Emory is among the schools that
yeah.
these people are trying to get into. And yeah, it always makes, I know. And I'm sitting there reading, I'm going, God, I hope I get this person.
I know. And it's so competitive now that it's
Yeah,
unbelievable.
I can only imagine. And it's like there's
Mhm.
such a need, and it's
Yeah.
weird. But anyway, uh, so you decided to make this switch. What year was that you or
Oh, I think I graduated in 2009, so it would have been 2000 and so it's all year program, 3 years. That's what the graduate program is. So I think I started somewhere between 2004 and 2005.
okay, all right. Yeah, so that's kind of around the time that I was switching career. At least had gotten
So,
out. But
yeah.
yeah, it's kind of fun to do that, and I mean,
Well, it is, and even now what I do is I see people in the clinic, but I have a running app, I have a running podcast, I've written 2 books, I do research, I everything I do is about running, but I do so many different things that it's not like one job, which I really appreciate and love. So I'm able to help our sport in every way. So I'm really
sounds like it.
touching it in multiple ways. So but with that lens of a physical therapist and that medical lens, which is really nice.
Yeah, yeah. So yeah, I did notice that I haven't listened yet,
That's okay.
but I did notice that you have a podcast. How long have you been doing that?
So I have two. One I just finished, and one I know this is the whole thing,
It's not
right?
like
This
me.
I know it's so bad. It's so bad. So I have two. One I just finished. It was called More Than Miles.
Okay.
And then the second one I just started. It only has 2 episodes out, but it's called Interdisciplinary Case Miles, and we look at running cases. And it's a physician, a running medicine doctor, a running medicine or a sports dietitian, and then myself, which is a running medicine PT. And we break down difficult cases, and people can email us their case and we'll
Oh
do it.
wow. Oh
And so it's really fun. It just started and we've already gotten some emails, which is super fun. And
wow.
I'd love to amplify that if we can, just because I think it's going to help a lot of people. The emails that we've gotten already
Hmm.
have been like, oh, my doctor told me to listen to this. And then I actually just started consulting with a client who was like, I heard your podcast and it sounded like me. I need help.
Yeah.
So it's a really cool thing because it's interdisciplinary. The three of us talk about what each of us would do in our own practice and how we would help each other. And it's,
Huh.
yeah,
That's really cool. So who are the other two people? Or I mean, what kind? I mean, you don't have to tell me
yeah.
their names, but like, what kind of backgrounds do they have, or what?
So one of them is a running medicine physician. And so
Uh-huh.
she works at the UVA Runners Clinic in
Okay.
Virginia.
Okay.
And her and I work, and then Kelsey's a sports dietitian, and she actually has qualified for the Olympic trials in the marathon
Oh
um,
wow.
a couple times, and she lives in Colorado. But the
Okay.
three of us always work together because we worked as part of the multidisciplinary team for the Atlanta Track Club Elite.
Hmm.
Um, Together when it started like 4 years ago. Sarah moved and Kelsey moved, but Kelsey still works with us. Sarah doesn't. But anyway, so we still call each other all the time and work with cases and patients. So it's what we do every day, but we just do it, recording it now.
It's cool though. I mean that. So how many listeners do you think you have right now?
Probably not many because we just started it, and we're not very good marketers. But which is funny with my background, right? So, but I think our first episode had like over 200 downloads, and it's only been a couple weeks. So I
Pretty
think
good. Yeah.
well, hopefully we'll see.
Well, and my 3-person audience, I'm just kidding. It's funny. It's like I seem to have, a number of people that listen to this. And unfortunately, lately it's been a little bit more sporadic just because of my own
Life, yeah.
situation. Yeah, yeah. And but yeah, so anyway, I'm not sure where I was going with that. But
Okay.
anyway, so well that sounds really interesting. And how long does the podcast how long are the episodes?
About 30 to, I mean, I think they're around 30 minutes. We try to keep them
Sure.
short.
Yeah, that was kind of the hallmark of this podcast when I first started it, before I started interviewing people, and then it'll, end up longer. But Yeah, I think shorter is not a bad thing. So
Well, my first podcast, they were an hour, about an hour, because
that's
we just get
normal.
talking and but this one we try to keep it around 30. I mean, maybe one will go to 40, maybe one will be 25, but
Yeah,
it just depends on the case
yeah,
and how in depth we get.
right, right. So yeah, so you were training for the marathon. Have you always been a runner then, or
So where I went to school in the middle of Vermont, so I grew up in upstate New York and Vermont. My parents were
right?
split, but they didn't have a running team, like no cross country team. So I used to run. I ran for years with just by myself, like as a kid, and
Just for
then
fun.
just running. I would just run like down my dirt road, like just go. And
Wow.
then
Oh.
it wasn't until college um that I really got into it. My first race ever was a half marathon, and then I got a coach. Um, and then I was, doing marathon. I did like 13 marathons, three Bostons, um and then I can't even tell you how many half marathons. And I started doing triathlon, but I actually almost died running. I have a rare genetic heart disease, so I run now, but it's like a few miles at a time, because that's all I'm allowed to do. The only thing that makes my genetic heart disease worse is actually exercising, which
Oh
is
no.
crazy. But I do still exercise. It's monitored. Like I have an implanted defibrillator. It's a whole thing. And we could certainly talk about that. We don't have to spend a lot of time about it. I mean, I talk about it all the time. I wrote a book about
I'd
it.
be interested in hearing about it. Sure.
Yeah.
I mean,
But I still run, but it's not like I can't be competitive anymore, and I can't. I miss I used to love to do like a really hard hill repeat or track workouts or like things that made you want to throw up. Like I used to love to push my body like that, but now
mhm.
I just can't. I'm not allowed to.
Wow. So how long ago did you find out about that?
That's been 10 years actually
Like,
this year. So it happened on my son's first birthday.
okay.
Um, Actually, I'm doing a TED talk about it. It just got moved. It was supposed to be like 2 weeks ago, but
Yeah.
they now it'll be a different location, so I'm waiting on a date. But I have a TED talk coming out about athletic identity, what it's like to lose your identity as
Ooh,
a runner.
that's interesting. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, that's funny because I just had a moment this morning because I've got arthritis in my
Mm.
left hip and yeah, and there's not, and it's just I was never a very good runner, but I loved it for the community, blah blah blah.
Totally.
Yeah, yeah, but mine's more in the trail community. So,
Yeah.
um, but it's been funny because I've been trying to get back to it, and I've been, I'm 64, so it's like it's not, like it was 10 years ago or something,
Nothing is not for me either.
and it's frustrating because, and I even had like a little bit of a cry, after I
Yes.
got back because I was my idea was to run 4 miles and then, well, and of course I started too late and I didn't start until like 11 and it's like 90 degrees and it's
Oh yeah.
stupid, but I was just like, I can't even really run without feeling terrible. And, so I just have to power hike it. And I was just like so depressed. I was just like, because I see friend, and I'm signed up for like a 25K in the middle of November. And I'm going,
Oh.
it's on trail, but you can hike in on
Yeah.
trails. So I mean,
Yeah.
that thank God, but still, it's just like when you're so, and it's just like what you're talking about. And so that was like, oh, I get that, but that's got to even be harder for you because you're young. How old are you?
I'm 44.
Okay. Oh God, you're a child. Yeah.
That sounds so nice. Thank you.
Just wait till you to be my age, and then you'll be like,
I have an 11-year-old who just walks around and calls me old all the time. And I'm like, I'm
oh,
not old. It's
is that a son or a daughter?
done. Yeah.
Okay. Is he your only kid?
Yeah. Because I almost died on his first birthday. And
Oh, that's right. Yeah, you were going to
yeah,
tell me about that a little bit. I'm sorry.
no, it's okay. I went out for a 5 mile run. I was training for a half Ironman. So I was still breastfeeding. So I felt like I hadn't been feeling well. And I just assumed it was my body because was postpartum and I was breastfeeding. And like I gave myself so many excuses. And then I went out for this typical 5 mile run and I wasn't doing so well. And I said, you know what? You really need to prove to yourself you're still a runner. You know, that talk, you know how you like talk to yourself and you're like, what are
Yeah,
you doing?
the games.
Yeah. And so I was like, well, if you can't sprint, the finish, then you probably still aren't a runner again. And so I sprinted home. And the moment I stopped, my heart started beating outside of my chest. I thought my Garmin was broken. It went from, 150 beats per minute to over 300 beats per minute. And then it stopped tracking. And I could see my heart. And so I sat down on my front steps and put my head between my knees, and I thought I better not go in because I think I might die right now. And I don't want my husband to walk in with me dead on the floor. It'd be better if it was out front because somebody would find me first. And so, I mean,
Sounds like something.
so logical, right? And I'm like, okay, but then I mean, miraculously, my heart converted back to a regular rhythm. And I was actually standing up to go to my neighbor to say, I think you should call the ambulance.
Hmm.
And then it stopped. So halfway to my neighbor's house, I stopped and I was like, oh, I'm fine. And I went home and I didn't tell anybody until the next day. And then I
It
told
was
my
your kid's
co
birthday, so yeah.
yeah. I mean, I told my colleague at work who was like, "Can't we are canceling all your patients. You have got to go to the doctor right now." And it's funny because that's what I would have said to a patient. But
Yeah.
for me, I was like, "No, I'm probably fine." And she's like, "You are not fine." And then it took them about 9 to 10 months, maybe 11 months to diagnose me because it's rare.
Uh-huh.
And now it's more talked about 10 years later than it was then. But it's like one of the few heart diseases that it's genetic, but it's usually sudden cardiac death. And so I was very lucky.
Wow.
Yeah.
Very.
Yeah.
Man, I mean, and again, that's got to be so humbling after you're used to, running all these marathons and all this other stuff, and in your field, it's like,
It was my whole life. And so everything that I did revolved around running. So I truly did have a sense of like losing myself and not sure who I was because um, all my friends were marathon runners and triathletes. And it was my whole community. I didn't even know what to eat anymore because I only ate based on what I was going to train, like how I was going to
right.
train.
Yeah.
And I just didn't, I was completely lost. Plus I had a 1 year old. And
Yeah.
plus, like all these things. And yeah, so it took a while, but I think that's why I am the way I am in terms of being a practitioner, is because I understand the piece about what it means to be a runner and how it's so intertwined in our life and what we do. And also, um, I I understand the frustration when someone continually tells you they don't know what's wrong with you, and when people don't listen,
Mhm.
and when you're pushed through a medical system that is broken and doesn't work. I understand that. And
Yeah.
so I've been there. And I think that just makes me better at what I do.
Yeah, I think so too. I mean, unfortunately, yes.
Yes.
But I guess that's taking something that, what do they say, taking something negative and making it positive or
Lemonade out of lemons.
yeah, I know.
That's what my grandma would have
There's a
said.
lot of that one I know. It's funny. But how long did it take you to get to that point? Because I'm sure it wasn't like, oh, hey, overnight.
Oh, of course not. I mean, years, really. So it's
Yeah.
been, so my son's 11 now.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, even now I still miss running. Like
Yeah.
I would still go if everything changed, if the research came out and they were able to stop the disease or they were able to do whatever to make it give me a medication, I would go back to marathoning
Sure.
without a doubt.
Yeah, yeah.
But I think probably over the last 5 years I've been pretty solid, maybe longer. But
Yeah.
it took me a couple. It was probably the first year was the hardest. The year, 2 years was the hardest. And I mean, I think because I just had to I had to think about what it meant to be a runner and what it meant to belong to the running community
Mm-hmm.
because I didn't know where I belonged for a long time, and now I know I still belong here.
Yeah, yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, well, that's kind of how I feel sometimes about the journalism thing, like I'm still a
Yeah,
journalist at heart.
right.
So, yeah. So what do you do to stay in shape now then?
Yeah. So, I mean, I still lift 3 days a week,
Okay.
and I have to, perimenopause, menopausal women, we've got to be strong. So
Yeah.
I do that 2 to 3 times a week. I
Okay.
walk every day. I do 1 to 2 days a week of running. That's, and it's like around 2 miles and I go with a friend,
Uh-huh.
um, because I really want that kind of running partner.
Well, and
feel,
also
but also
the
I'm not
pace.
allowed to go alone.
Yeah, yeah.
And I have to go really slow and it is, run walk. But and then, I do yoga and yeah, I stay as active as I can. I
So
hike.
it's satisfying. Yeah. So it's not like, I mean, yeah. Yeah, I mean, like I've taken up indoor rowing classes, the ones with the water rower,
Oh yeah.
and yeah, I like that. The problem is though, is it doesn't completely mimic the aerobic
No.
stuff for yeah, for running. And so this is I think one of the reasons I'm still struggling and but I spend a lot of money every month for this gym because they do a lot of functional training for, like kettlebells and, BOSU and battle ropes and TRX and all that and yeah, right. So it's just so I like that, but it's also expensive. And then I'm like, well, maybe I need to go out and try to run more. But then I'm like, well, then I'm not using my expensive membership.
Yeah, I think there's a place where you have to kind of meet in the middle.
Yeah, and I'm trying to find that right now because
Yeah.
yeah, I think it's just also just, coming from the background that I do, it's just, yeah, I'd like be careful with money, that kind of thing. But
Yeah.
anyway, um, so tell me about your ther is it a therapy business? How do you describe your job?
Hmm. So I own a running medicine clinic,
Okay.
so in Atlanta, Georgia.
Right.
It's it's physical therapy, but now we're kind of transitioning to we have a dietitian there. We're going to start doing yoga for runners classes. We have a massage therapist coming in. And so it's more of a holistic center for runners.
Hmm.
We do some strength training already for middle school and high school girls to
Hmm.
help them build their confidence. So we talk about food and we talk about body image while we're doing the strength training.
Uh-huh.
And then we have a couple possible trainers coming on as well. So it's a running medicine clinic. We do
Okay.
gait analysis, VO2 threshold testing, all of it.
Oh, wow.
And then I have a second location that's more of like an orthopedic community clinic because it's where I live.
Okay.
And they asked me to do it, but we still see a lot of runners. So I do that. So I typically don't see a lot of runners in clinic. I see my elites. We are the official providers for the Atlanta Track Club Elite, so they see us.
Wow.
Um, and uh, and I work specifically with the track club. So I see those athletes, and then we meet every week for a multidisciplinary call, and we have a whole multidisciplinary team with a physician or two physicians, sports psychologists, sports dietitian, my physical therapy team, the coach, a chiropractor, and we all meet and we collaborate on helping those athletes get better. And it's been really cool because this year 80% of our athletes PR'd.
Wow.
And our injury rates just keep plummeting because we started this about four years ago. So I'm part of that team.
Uh-huh.
And then working on research and writing and podcasting during the week. And then I also do consulting. So people around, I know this is crazy. So it's crazy, but it's all the same thing. So it doesn't feel crazy because I'm doing the same thing all the time. I'm
It's
having the same
related. Yeah.
yeah, it's just in different ways. And so I only see, 6 to 8 at maximum patients a week in
I was
clinic.
going to ask you about that. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So, I mean, some weeks I guess it's a little bit more, but really like that would be the maximum in clinic. And then I'll consult on, I have a handful of people I consult with at a time. If I have room, I'll take more. Um,
Right.
I meet with them a few times a week just to help them get through their injury.
Right. And so you said that you're working with this elite team, but are you also working with like average Joe
Mhm.
kind of people
Yeah.
then? That's what I thought. So I just want to
Yeah,
make
I like to work with everybody. So we work with everyone from middle school to elite athletes. So weekend warriors, men, women. And my clinic that I run, I also do a lot of mentoring. So I see patients with my clinicians. We collaborate. We do all sorts of things. It's really
yeah.
fun. Yeah.
So what's the interest and I'm encouraged by this when I hear it out of your mouth is the interest in getting kids in middle school involved in this sort of thing. Where does that
Yeah.
come from and how much interest are you seeing? Because I don't have kids and so I
Mhm.
just have no concept. And I have a nephew, but he's 19 and I just don't have a concept of what kids that age do.
Yeah. So,
Are they all on their phones or what?
no, so I speak at running camps across the country as
Yeah.
well. So in the summer, there's a ton of running camps, and I'll go and I essentially lecture and teach them. So I do a talk. It's called Train Like a Girl, and I talk about periods, and I talk about the performance plateau and how we have to be kind to our body as it changes. And I talk about strength and all of those types of things. So I do that at running camp where I might have 300 girls I'm talking to, and I mean, I spend an hour or more answering questions afterwards. It's amazing. And then, I
Wow.
also talk about to boys and girls, like I'll talk about performance and recovery or strength and gait changes. So it just depends. But so I do that on that kind of large level. In my clinic, I have one clinician. We all see middle school or high school athletes if necessary, but I have one clinician who really thrives with that population.
Oh,
And
that's
so
nice.
she sees it was her idea to do the strength training class for that age group.
Yeah.
Um, and then we work with a lot of the local high school teams. So we'll go and we'll do a gait analyses for the team in the beginning of this season. That's what we do with our elite team, and then sometimes the high school teams will ask us, or we'll work with the coaches, and we'll come and lecture for them, or we'll come into a practice or whatever it is they kind of want to help build the strength of that team.
Yeah. That's
So,
cool.
but it's cool because if you can start early with runners and kids, like you can teach them now, then they're less likely, it decreases their injury rate later if we can get some of these really basic concepts in their mind, and these habits formed early. Because, for me, I was taught, you push your body as hard as you possibly can until you almost pass out, and I literally almost did. And if you don't push, like, what are you doing? But that's not really how the body works, but that's how our generation was trained. And you just keep going.
Yeah.
And you don't need to do all the other stuff. Well, that's not really how that's not what the science shows. That's what we know. That's not really how it works. And so educating these kids early just helps them have longevity in running.
Yeah, and just also to start some good habits, and
Yeah.
things like that. I mean, because in my mind, and I'm sure you know this, of course, running teach. And again, when I'm even in my classroom, I will talk about doing ultras. Of course, I haven't done one in a little while, but it's okay. But that ultra mentality, or just running in general, you really learn a lot about yourself and just those highs and lows, and just do you ride them out? Do you quit? Because I went through a phase before I really kind of knocked off the running for a while, where I was DNFing everything, and even a half marathon. I mean, it was just stupid, and it was just like my brain just was like, oh, I can't do this. But yeah,
Yeah.
it was because I was trying to train for a 100 miler, but it's like one of those deals where you go around in a circle for like,
Probably overtraining. And I mean, when you're overtraining too, your body does that. So that's part of the signs and symptoms, or it could be low energy availability. Like there are all these different reasons why our body responds that way. And then we're trained to just keep going one foot in front of the other. So
all my
maybe,
friends are.
yeah, and we don't necessarily recognize those yellow or red flags that put us in trouble and then take the joy out of running, right? It's supposed to be fun. It's
I
not supposed to be
know.
stressful.
I know. Yeah. I mean, and I can remember when I DNF'd that 100 miler. I mean, I was probably only like 27 miles in, but I was just like, I tried everything I could think of to, stay in the moment. And I was there with like a lot of my closest friends, but I didn't want to like tell them about it because I didn't want to like ruin their,
Yeah.
mentality. So, I would take a break, sit, have a Topo Chico, maybe get a Coke, have a little snack here and there, and just try to do all these. And then when that wasn't working anymore, I was just like, okay, I'm done, and I think I was just
And
tired,
yeah.
and yeah, it just, and again, I started very late, and well, I mean, comparatively, I mean, I was like even older than you. I think I was like in my late 40s when I started trying to run. I had always been like a cyclist and things like that, but yeah, the running thing, and it never came easy. And so that's why even when I was able to do it and accomplish like an ultra, it just felt so great to be able to do that. But there's only like a finite.
It does. It is a great accomplishment. And I do think that this, there is a component of grit, right? You do want to be able to push and like overcoming things. That's part of what we do as runners, and that's okay. It's just that at some point, we have to look at like, why are we running and why are we pushing ourselves way past the limit?
Yeah.
And what's behind that? And if it really is, you're treating your body well and you're good and, you're not stressing yourself out and it really is, you're just, pushing yourself a little bit, that's okay. But if we get into this cycle of where we're just stressing ourselves out because we're forcing ourselves to do something that doesn't bring us joy anymore, and we're always hurt or we're limping or we're, crashing, like what is the point? What are we doing? Let's back up. Let's get some of that stuff taken care of so that we can still enjoy what we're doing.
Yes, yes. No, I feel that. And sorry, I didn't mean to sit and talk about myself.
No, it's
But I
okay.
but I very much relate. It's funny, I didn't expect that. I mean, especially given, what you're going through,
Yeah.
that kind of because I was more afraid that it was going to be more of like all these, like kind of perfect people, runners or whatever. And it's like, oh, it's just regular folks like me and such, my
Yeah,
friends and stuff like that. So
totally.
that's super cool. So what do you ever do you ever notice when people are getting burned out, and do you offer them any sort of I don't know, advice, or I mean, can you tell somebody that, or do they have to find it themselves?
So I think that's a couple questions there. I think it
Sorry.
depends. No, that's okay. But I just want to make sure I answer it and unpack
Sure.
it. So um, I think it depends on the person. Some people you can't tell, and you have to, as a practitioner and as somebody that does what I do, you have to be able to recognize and read people and listen well enough to understand when someone's ready to hear that or not.
Mhm.
And because if I came to you and said, Donna, you are overtraining and you need to back off and you weren't ready to hear it, you would never come back and see me ever. And then what I couldn't help you.
Right.
Right. And so if I'm going to help somebody, I have to be able to meet them wherever they are.
Yeah.
And so,
Without
then
judgment.
without judgment and I can relate to that because I've been there. And so meet them where they are without that judgment and say, okay, well, how can I help them where they are? And during that time and when we build a relationship, I might be able to bring that up and say, you know what? Like, are you enjoying what you're doing? Or have you thought about X, Y, and Z? And that's how you do it. You don't come when somebody comes in and they're totally burnt out and they're injured and they're injured because they're overtraining, they're stressed out and they're not treating themselves well. You don't say stop running. That is the worst thing you could say, and that's the worst thing they could do.
Yeah.
Um, you just have to figure out how can you help them and then bring them along and educate them along the way. And I think that that's also probably what's different about what I do because there's so many times runners don't even want to go see a healthcare provider because they're afraid that we're going to say stop running.
Yeah.
And a lot of times they do. That's not what we do in my clinics. That's not what I do. We
Mhm.
just figure it out together.
Yeah. That's good to know. Yeah, because that's funny. I have a friend that I just was talking to. He's one of our coaches in the group that I'm in, and he's like, this madman. We call him the assassin. He's just this, but he's a really cool guy. But
Yeah.
he just does these 100 milers, and he just is always, whatever. And I don't know. I saw him a couple weeks ago, and he's like, "Oh man, my hip's starting to hurt," and he's like in his, I don't know, probably like your age, maybe just a little older. And I said, "Well, have you been to a doctor?" And he's like, "Are you kidding? No." And I was like, "Yeah, that just sounds like what you were talking about."
No, that is the truth. And so actually, in a couple weeks, my the new version of my RunSource app is coming out. So
Right.
this is why I built it. So the RunSource app that's now is like the minimal viable product, right? But what's about to come out in a couple weeks is unbelievable. You can
Ooh,
ask it questions. So
ooh,
I created AI agents but I put you can only it only answers based on my knowledge and what I've put in it. It doesn't extrapolate and it'll tell you, like, I don't know if it doesn't know, but essentially I put my clinical reasoning into it so that you could ask it questions like, what is this? And then I wrote out injury programs. And
uh-huh.
there's like 8 to 12 week programs that people can do on
Okay.
the app that include exercises, but also include all the educational content that I typically do.
Uh-huh.
And it has, and different things. So I did it because only about 25% of athletes actually want to go to the doctor, or runners want to go to the doctor, and that's all that really do. And so there's 75% of athletes who are out there in the world injured, or not injured, but maybe don't doing things that could put them on that path. And so I created this app, and it's got almost 50 other healthcare providers on it that only treat runners. So
Wow.
all of us only treat runners. And so we built this thing out so that people could go there and get answers and do things on their own if they're afraid to engage with healthcare providers. But then it'll also say, if you ask a lot of the same question, like, hey, maybe it's time to go see a healthcare provider, and this is why.
Mm.
And so I built that for people like your friend, the assassin, who's afraid to see a healthcare provider because of the experience that many athletes have with healthcare providers.
Yeah, yeah.
It's like a soft landing.
Yeah, no, ooh, I like that. That's good. Yeah, it's funny. I had to go get when I was having the trouble with my hip and I didn't know what it was. My doctor had ordered an X-ray, and I'm in there, getting my X-ray, and the guy who was the tech was just such a jerk to me.
Sorry.
He was just like, so you're a runner,
Oh God, that makes me so mad because so he's looking at you and he's judging you and he's saying you're a
Yes.
runner. Oh my God, I that actually makes me crazy because anybody can be a runner and there's
Yes.
not one type.
I know. I
I
was so
know.
mad at him. And so I was just like, yes, I am. And then I started telling him about my 250 milers that I did, and that before I had my thyroid removed, because I had to have it removed, I was training for a 50 miler, and I asked the surgeon, I'm like, can I get it out the week after my 50 miler? Which I did.
Okay, that is definitely a runner response. You're like, oh, cool. I can't walk right now, but I've got a race this weekend. So can we work on this next week?
Well, and it didn't have anything to do with not being able to walk or anything.
No,
It
I
was just
know.
like the thyroid, but it's still that mentality of, oh my God, no, I can't, because I've been training
Yeah,
for too long, and oh God. But anyway, that's cool. So it's called the RUNsource
it's called RunSource. Yeah.
source.
So
Okay.
it should be your resource of where you can get, and it's tons of running knowledge. I mean, there's dietitians on there, sports psychologists,
Wow.
coaches, PTs, MDs, yoga instructors, strength coaches, and it's tons of educational content. So, like any question that you have about running, you should be able to, well, maybe not any question, but any question that's in that kind of, like medical realm or injury realm or training, you should be able to find an answer on that. And it's like I said, I wouldn't check it out I wait 2 weeks because
Okay.
that's
I made a
when
note of that.
yeah, because that's when the V2 should be out. And V2 is so different than V1. Like if you saw V1 and then you saw V2, it looks like two completely different things. And it'll hook up to Strava. Um,
Nice.
and you can track your shoes, and it'll tell you when you need to get new running shoes. Like everything that I would do in clinic, it's essentially in the app.
That's cool. Now, is there a charge for this, or is it free, or how does it
Yeah, no,
work?
there is a charge. But it's like 14.99 a month. It's not expensive.
Okay.
And you can
Like
even use
Strava.
you
Yeah.
can even use your HSA for it though, because it is
You can
because
use your what? I'm sorry.
your health savings account for it.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
And so um yeah, so I created that because some people, not everybody can come to our clinic. We're in Atlanta.
Right.
Right? It's expensive to fly. We're an out-of-network clinic, so that can be difficult. And then to work with me consulting, it's even, that's another. So it's like I'm the most expensive just to see me consulting. Then my clinic's less expensive if you go in there. But then this app is like I'm trying to meet everybody like somewhere.
Right.
And then the podcast is free.
Right.
So I've put out like free resources all the way to people who need like really one-on-one individual help. And that way I can meet people wherever they are.
That's super cool. Yeah. That sounds great. Yeah. And I think that's good too, just because you are based in Atlanta, and
Mhm.
probably the majority of my listeners are in Texas.
Yeah, of course.
Just yeah, well, it's just yeah, the way it is. Anyway, I know we're coming up on almost an hour. Well, we're
Oh yeah.
45, but and I know you've got stuff, but I just want to find out what else can I have I not asked you that you would like to let me know about? That's what I wanted to ask.
Yeah, that's okay. I think we've actually talked about it. So
Okay.
I really wanted to I wanted to talk about the new podcast coming out. I just want people to know like there are resources out there
Yeah.
and we don't have to feel alone as runners and like nobody understands because I do understand. And my people at my clinic understand. And, the community that I've built, the podcast, we get it. We understand and we really just want to be there to support people to reach their goals. We're not trying to stop people so that they can't reach them, but we want to do it in a way that's healthy and sustainable.
Hmm.
And so from like a mental, emotional, and physical standpoint.
That sounds great. Yeah, no, I'm really glad I got a little time to talk to you and
Yeah.
about all this because again, I think there's so many people that listen to this podcast that can take listen to your podcast or do the app, or if they're in Atlanta or nearby, they can come see you, or whatever. So that's
Yeah.
super cool. So, well, listen, I do appreciate it. I am going to stop
Absolutely.
recording, but hang loose
Sure.
for just a second.